Hey guys, LockyPocky Reviews here. This time not talking about a new movie. I'm actually going to be talking about the new Star Wars show that just finished up last week, Book of Boba Fett. And for those of you who don't know, this is basically a spin-off show off of The Mandalorian with Temuera Morrison and Ming-Na as Boba Fett, and Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Shand, respectively, as sort of the main leads. Kind of, but we'll get into that. Um, and just in terms of how I'm going to structure this, because there is a lot of spoilery type stuff, um, I'm just going to sort of start off with just general thoughts really fast, and then I'm going to go into the spoilers, and I will give a clear indication when I'm going to do that. So if you haven't seen the show, you can turn the video off or whatever. But before I do that, I'm just going to quickly talk about my thoughts on The Mandalorian, as it's sort of based off of this. And as for that goes, I really, really enjoy The Mandalorian. I really like the fact that it, takes, sort of, because we've all, just, there's plenty of other Star Wars properties out there. But it basically kind of takes that universe and, gives it very much like the feel of a Western or, a samurai story or a gangster story where it's kind of like the lone man on a journey and, the characters are all really interesting. The story's very interesting. It just feels very fresh and new, especially with, it's for Star Wars, being around as long as it has. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I've been really enjoying it. And now we have, the spin-off show, which um, basically has kind of the same feel of it, I suppose. And in it, I'll, kind of just give a quick, sum up. Basically is focusing on Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, who um, basically trying to take control of land, and there's sort of this illegal trade stuff happening with other tribes and stuff. Anyway, kind of all this political type nonsense, but basically that's the sort of the main focus is them kind of just trying to take control of this land. And in terms of, because the thing with this show, in terms of my thoughts on it, is that this is very much a show. If you were to show me like a single episode from this show just out of context, like, okay, you didn't tell me what the name of the show was, you just went like, what do you think of this episode type thing, I'd be like, that's pretty solid, like that's a good and interesting entertaining episode of a show. But and I think, like I said, and that kind of applies really to most episodes. There's only maybe, I'd say, two episodes. Like, if you show, two episodes where I'd say, okay, like, this isn't very good, but pretty much a majority of them are like, no, this is good stuff. This is interesting. The pacing is good. The, character stuff is good. But the problem with it is that when you put it all together, it doesn't really work. And that's because in terms of story, within the episode is interesting, but as like the overall arc of the show goes, it's really scattershot and really unfocused at times. Things that, the best way I can put this is that this, basically there's, the main plot of the show going on. But the weird thing about it is that the show seems more interested in kind of other subplots going on rather than the main one. And I can kind of see why, because the main plot itself is not that interesting, in my opinion. It is kind of just like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's very much like a political type stuff. But the subplot stuff, the stuff that it's mostly focusing on is interesting and done well. And so, but when you get to the end of it all, and it's supposed to be summing up this big, this storyline that's been going on throughout, the main one anyway, it just doesn't really amount to, it's like this, it doesn't feel developed enough because they haven't really focusing on it enough. So it just kind of feels like half done type thing. But with that said, yeah, I still do enjoy these main characters. I think, Boba Fett and Fennec Shand they did show up briefly in Mandalorian. And they were really good there, and I really like them here. I like the interactions. I like, the how they work off each other, and I think the actors, Temuera Morrison, I think does a really good job. Ming-Na Wen, she is a really, good actress as well. She can do those, types of, like, she's very good at doing, badass female type characters. So she's great in that too. Like, it all fits to, they're all very entertaining. But like I said, in terms of, like, the overarching plot goes, like, for the show, it just, like I said, it's just very messy. Um, Even though the stuff that the subplot stuff it's focusing on is interesting and done well. So it is kind of, in terms of, like, okay, like, how, how would I recommend it and stuff like that. It's like, I would say basically, if you're a Star Wars fan, whether you grew up with the original trilogy, whether you grew up with the Clone Wars show, or even something like you've been just introduced to, like, Mandalorian and stuff like that, I feel like you will get at least a handful of moments that you will like, oh, that was really cool. Because there's a lot of stuff in this that I'm like, is really, really good and done well. But if you're looking for a show, just as, like, just a normal movie, TV show person that just wants to see, like, a good show from beginning to end, I can't say that you're going to get that because it is just so scattershot and all over the place. But yeah, that's kind of how I would probably best put it. Overall, I'm going to give The Book of Boba Fett a 6 out of 10. Okay, so from now on, I'm going to be going into the spoiler section of the video. So if you haven't seen the show, please click away. This is your warning. But yeah, Mandalorian season 3 has started off pretty good. We also had that 5 episodes of that Book of Boba Fett show, but those 2 Mandalorian episodes, really good. Yeah, I'll just say this straight up. The episode 5 and 6 of the show was easily the best thing. God, those episodes were so freaking good. I'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, I'm gonna kind of just go through this kind of by sections of episodes. And I'll start off with the first 4 episodes, which basically, because you've seen the show, basically has, like, Book of Boba Fett, and Fennec Shand, kind of in, like, Godfather Part 2 style, where it's like, the present storyline, and then also the past storyline going on kind of at the same time. And the past sort of stuff focuses on, Boba Fett from, the end of Return of the Jedi, in the Sarlacc pit, and then, is it the Sarlacc pit? I don't remember. But anyway, in the big mouth of the monster, whatever. And then, seeing how he gets to where we see him in Mandalorian. And as for that stuff, I thought was really interesting. I liked, he sort of, meets up with the Tusken Raider tribe, and he, learns about their fighting style, their culture. He teaches them stuff like, we get that big scene with the segment with the train, them, riding on and getting onto the train and stuff like that. That was really cool. And yeah, I think, like, all the stuff with him sort of in his past, I thought was really interesting. I know there's some people out there that say, they would have preferred, because Boba Fett himself is very much a character that's got the mask on. You don't know that much about him. He's sort of meant to be kind of a mystery. And so some people are kind of like, well, why are we, now we're learning a lot about him and it's focusing on him a lot, and it's kind of takes that magic away a little bit. But I think it works for me personally, I think, just because it isn't really going into his past. It's just kind of showing us how he got to where he was in Mandalorian, which I think is... And it develops his character a little bit more too, which I didn't mind. And I don't know, I think for the most part I'm like alright with that stuff. I enjoyed it. But the stuff that is set in the present is not as interesting, and you kind of have the cyborg gang that have like the coloured scooters, and it's like, I don't know, like a Power Rangers almost. It's like, it's a bit silly. But yeah, first 4 episodes I thought was mostly pretty good. With the exception of probably the 3rd one, where they did introduce the cyborg gang, but anyway. And then obviously episode 5 and 6 basically is just Mandalorian, which honestly didn't bother me because it was done very well. And it's great to see, Pedro Pascal here back again, and that was a lot of fun. At least following on from the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, and him on his own, and then he obviously wants to see Grogu again, and like all that stuff was really interesting. I even when they showed Luke, I was thinking, because at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, he looked really fake, in my opinion. Like the way that, like the light, it was because it was in a very dark environment. But just when see the CGI of him, it just didn't look that good. But in this, they're showing a lot more. But I think the effect of it is just improved significantly because it looked a lot better here. Like you genuinely almost are like, that's just, like, it's not even, you kind of are like, oh no, that like looks like just him from the original trilogy almost. It's like, it's so uncanny sometimes. And especially because it's like in a well-lit environment. I think maybe because it is well-lit, maybe it worked a little bit better in that sort of environment with a lot more things going on, in the background and stuff. And seeing him train Grogu was really interesting, and him and Ahsoka having, conversations was really, like, great stuff. Like, I really was, like, even as someone who hasn't, like, I haven't seen the Clone Wars show, so I can't use that as, like, but I do know sort of the basic thing, that Ahsoka and, Anakin were, quite close, and the idea of sort of him, her meeting, her old, friend's son, basically, and having that conversation is just, like, is pretty cool, really cool. And they also have Cad Bane shown up too, which, again, like I said, I haven't seen the show, but when he did show up, like, he has, like, the hat on, the coat, and the marshal there, and they have, like, this, the classic Western shootout style moment, where, they're standing, so far apart, and they're having, like, a conversation, and, yeah, great, like, that was awesome. The overall feel and tone and atmosphere was just perfect there, and just, it's shot well. Just great moment then as well. There's tons of great moments in those 2 episodes. I'm just gonna, there's a lot of good ones. But then, we get to the finale, which is for me where things really get a bit all over the place. And first of all, I don't know why, but the Marshal, obviously from 2nd season Mandalorian, that first episode, they don't even have him show up at all, which I didn't get. They sort of say, he was dead, which I don't think that's what... I bet you they're going to bring him back or something. I think that at the end they show, like, him in a casket or something, so, or, like, in a, like, pod type thing, so he's probably going to come back. But I don't get why they couldn't have had him come back, because that would have been such a cool moment. And, it would have been a great, like, revenge thing for when, for Cad Bane as well, like, him getting to, get back at him type thing. I thought that, that was pretty obvious. But no, they write him out of the episode completely, which is just, okay, sure. And, because this show, like I said, because the previous 2 episodes were basically The Mandalorian, pretty much, and had basically no Boba Fett in it, it's like, now you completely forgot what even happened in the previous episodes altogether. And so when you get to this episode, it's just like, oh yeah, this, Pikes thing, or, it's like, oh, I kind of can't really remember what the plot even was now, because, like I said, because they kept focusing on, Boba Fett's past, and now Mandalorian episode, whatever, new episode of Season 3, Episode 1 type thing, it's like, and the Pike stuff just kind of gets thrown to the side, which is just, I don't know, like, they really needed either A, really focused the episodes more on that plotline and kept that flashbacky stuff kind of a little bit reduced down, at least. Like, spread out through the show a bit more and just reduced to, like, maybe a few minutes each episode type thing. Or they needed to do more episodes to develop it properly, because when it, like I said, it isn't, it's like there's a war or something, and it's like, okay, like, this wasn't really built up that much at all, and and, you have there's like Boba Fett makes an alliance with these other, like, lords of, all the owners of the land, other land regions and stuff. Something like that. He makes a deal with them, and then they betray him or something. And it's like, but it just kind of is like, oh, okay. Again, they don't really build up anything, like, where they're, it's not like there's a scene where, say, Boba Fett goes to one of these other people and is like, I need to trust you with something, and they sort of, they do this task for him or something, and they build that trust with them, and then they betray him. Now that would have a lot more dramatic impact, because it's like, holy, like, this person we trusted has now completely betrayed us, and that creates drama. But it's just that we don't really see them again, and it's just like, they just suddenly turn against the heroes. It's like, oh, okay. Sucks for them, I guess. But the biggest thing... Oh, God, I'm gonna try not to get too angry at this. But the biggest thing that pissed me off in this final episode is the fact that we have now, we obviously, Grogu gets the choice between either staying with Luke Skywalker, between the lightsaber, and then there's this chainmail stuff that the Mandalorian brings along, or, if he picks that, he goes back with the Mandalorian. And he decides to go back with the Mandalorian, which basically defeats the entire point of what the Season 2 of the Mandalorian was about, which was to get Grogu back to his people. I get the feeling that the writers completely forgot about that, because they basically undone everything that whole season was about in literally like within a couple seconds. Really? Oh. And okay, I'm gonna try not to rant, but again, and I'm willing to bet that, someone in, like, Disney or something was like, because, obviously if him being with Luke Skywalker, we can't have Grogu back in the show anymore, if they do a Season 3 of Mandalorian, and someone at Disney was like, oh, but, Grogu's popular with everyone, I mean, he's easy to market, so, we have to bring him back, like, we can't have them separated, they have to always be together, we can't change that dynamic, because that would just ruin the show. And so it's like, it just feels like it was done because, well, we can't have that, we can't make them, keep them separated, we can't do that, it's, it's gonna be, unprofitable, whatever. And just, that really annoys me, that really pisses me off, because now, like, where do we go now? Because the entire like I said, the entire point of... Hell, you could even argue the first season was about that too, about finding Grogu's people. All of that's basically been undone, and now it's like, well, where do we go now? What are they just... They're just going to keep... they're just going to have the two from... Continue to have them, two of them just in each episode or whatever. Like, there's no goal, there's just... It's just going to be the two of them. So... Yeah, I'm really worried as to where this show is gonna go now, because, like, I don't, like, where can they take it now? You know, I don't know. Maybe they'll come up with something, but, like I said, it just feels something like a marketing decision. Like, someone at Disney was like, you know, like I said, we can't have the Mandalorian without Grogu, because that's just, we can't, how dare, how dare we, a Star Wars property make us, like, challenge us, or give us something, that's gonna be like, we're gonna stick to what we're gonna do, we're gonna stick to what the decision we've made, and go through it. No, they just cop out and go, no, we're gonna bring him back, because people like him. Oh, God. Yeah, I really do not, I freaking hate that. That just pisses me off. So, yeah, like I said, I still like the show, but that finale really, even the finale, I should be fair, is not bad or anything, but some of the decisions in it just really just rubbed me the wrong way, honestly, and I just, God, I don't even know what else to say, but, yeah. That's pretty much my thoughts, though, on the whole thing, and yeah, like I said, I still like these characters. It is great to see Mandalorian back and everything, and I like Grogu as a character, but I really just don't get why, like I said, they just copped out of, taking these stories and, like, this story in a really interesting direction. I would have, wanted to see more of Luke and him training and all that, and Mandalorian kind of doing his own thing, but nope, we're not gonna do that, because, that's risky. Anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it about the show, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.